Welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I am super excited to have Terry Rogers, somebody I've known for many, many years, but I don't think I've ever had on as a guest. And of course, I'm completely nervous right now because it looks like he has completely frozen again. But I got a couple things I want to talk about and a couple things I need to do before we get started. So hopefully we will get this figured out. The first thing I want to do is say thank you so much for watching Foresight TV. I am just delighted beyond belief that you are joining us for this broadcast. So as you know, at Foresight, we are committed to improving the lives of people who live in, work, and senior living. That's all we're interested in doing. It's what we care about. It's what we want our legacy to be. So we would love to hear from you about what you are doing to improve the lives of residents and team members. If you've got a story that you're doing something amazing, we would love to hear about that. And we'd love to hear from you about how we can serve you better. So in addition to Foresight TV, we do all sorts of really great thought leadership content. LinkedIn posts, the Foresight podcast, Tech Tuesday. But perhaps the most impactful thing we do is the Foresight website, where we publish new leadership content every single day. It's all free. It's super easy to subscribe to. You can see the QR code that you can use to subscribe. There's also a link in the chat if that's easier for you. Just give us your email. You'll start receiving this every day. Finally, I just want to say I appreciate your passion for our industry and the people you serve. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later. We'll put up a little notice on it, but I do want to talk to you about the Foresight AI Lab, where you can actually jumpstart your AI journey. So before we get started, now we are ready to go. Let's do this, and then we'll jump into the conversation. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Terry, welcome to Foresight TV. It's unbelievable we have not done this before.
It seems like we should have already done this. I agree. So good to be with you, Steve. Well, I have certainly watched you on Foresight TV many, many times and wondered why you never invited me.
Yeah, I know. I feel really guilty about that, but here we are. So I'd actually like to start. You have led a number of organizations. You've played some amazing roles in senior living. You watched it change a lot. One of the things I always like to start with is, how did you get into this crazy, magical, wonderful business?
I would say it was an opportunistic opportunity to get off the traveling road and to work for a single site, not-for-profit, St. Martin's in Birmingham, Alabama. I was working there, raising a family. I was working in home health care at the time for one of the national companies, and I was in a regional role, and I was traveling in the car all over the Southeast. And at some point, as the boys were getting older, I said, my gosh, I'm missing most of their lives. I'm not there for ball games and the things that dads like to do. So I had an opportunity through my network to join the organization as the next CEO at St. Martin's. And boy, it probably was for most career advisors a crazy idea for me to make that change, because I was in a upwardly mobile with a big national team. Well, but something about the idea of a nonprofit at the time and a retirement community where the people live 24/7 was really actually pretty exciting for me. And so I stayed there for 16 years once I joined. So I guess I must have liked it and have really grown to love the field of senior living, senior housing, and obviously have stayed there for a number of years beyond St. Martin's.
Terrific. So as you've served as a CEO for a number of organizations, I'd love to hear kind of just how you how you think about leading and leadership, and what are the things that you found work, and if you're willing, I'd love to hear you maybe talk about some of the things you've tried or done that have not worked so well, and you've gone, oops, that was an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing that anyone can do is to really try to change culture. And I am a big proponent of culture change, to make, obviously the culture is what we try to create to attract and retain top talent. And I have always believed, and I don't think there's a culture book out there that where that's not a goal. And if you have top talent at all levels of the organization, then you're going to provide the best services, and create the best environment for residents to live and to enjoy their lives. So for me, I think, from a leadership perspective, I've always seen my role as leading culture, and I've been part of organizations with amazing culture, and I think we have to, though, be willing to change that culture as the organizations change. There's not a senior living organization that has been in existence for 20 years or 30 years or even 70 years, where the culture has not changed over time, and it needs leaders to help figure out what that is. So I have certainly tried many culture things that perhaps didn't stick. And to really, for it to be part of culture, it has to be embedded and has to stick. And it's the why we do the work, it's how we do the work, it's doing more than just taking the company values and putting them on the wall somewhere, or adding them to the mission statement. It's actually empowering team members to and teaching them the how. What are the behaviors I have to do every day to take those company values and instill those into my daily work, so that the residents see it, so that family members who are visiting and other visitors see that this is the culture of the organization. It's the how. So the why and the how are extraordinarily important, I think, as we instill those things. So from a leadership perspective, I think if I start with culture and then go from there, all the other things seem to fall in place. It's doing the right thing for people, and I've always have tried to treat people the way I want to be treated, and it certainly has seemed to work for me.
I really love that. So I've been over the last couple days. Netflix has got this sort of this concept. So I'm going to start with their basic concept. So people look at cultures in different ways, and sometimes you see the metaphor of family. Netflix uses the metaphor of a team, maybe something else. And so maybe I'm going to actually just stop with that. Do you see team, family, or something else?
Yeah, I use the term family. So, obviously we use a lot of team in my career, but um, for me, I think when you have to show up, and the reality is, most of us in our jobs are spending more time in that job doing the work than we do at home, especially if you remove the sleeping hours. So
Yep.
I use it as family, and I think particularly in senior living that it works. People are either from a big family and are working in senior living. I think some of those are probably some of the best caregivers, those who have that experience working in larger families. But even those in smaller families, they want a sense of belonging, and they want a sense of purpose. And again, to me, if you treat the team members in a way where they have a sense of belonging, where they have a sense of purpose, then that is going to be part of the culture that the residents and your customer, they
Yeah.
feel that too. So it's just not different. I think too many times we try to bifurcate the team members from the residents, and I like to think of a senior living community as just one community of people living together. And when you do that, I think family is certainly a good example. A good positive family is what we're
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, I mean, every family has its weirdness, right? And so I think that in some sense that actually really applies to senior living, right? We have quirky individuals, and we figure out how to bring out the best in people. And so I really like the family motif. I sort of also like the idea of a sports team, and I find myself sort of bouncing back and forth the two models. The thing that's got me really, I'll sort of take you to where I'm interested on this Netflix. So Netflix has this idea that, and this came from Reed Hastings, who founded Netflix, this idea that on perhaps a quarterly basis, managers should be reevaluating how effective the people working for them are. And the test has always been is if there were a round of layoffs, would you be fighting to hold on to a team member, or would you perhaps even be relieved that they were leaving? And they've actually done some modification of this. So they've added the second question of, would you rehire this person if you had a chance to do over? So I'd love to have your thoughts on either one of those ideas, whether you think they apply to senior living or not. I mean, I will add one other thing, and then I'll let you respond. Is that part of the challenge is it's almost hard to think about because we struggle so much with staff that I think, frankly, we keep people that if we had better circumstances, we wouldn't, right?
Hmm. I think that's true. I also think though that again leadership matters within that team. Certainly, we see certain football players who maybe didn't perform so well for one coach, and then they change teams, and they're the superstar. So I think that includes the culture of the team, but also the leaders and who's trying to put them as part of that playbook. So I think though that particularly in the last few years where we've had such a hard time in staffing, there probably are team members that are working in senior living that maybe should find another career. But I have also seen those that have. I remember a few years ago beginning my role as CEO in a new organization, and I was told. This person who reports to you, we know you're not going to really get along with them. Well, number one, I'm not sure why they thought that. I guess my reputation preceded me, but I've never been that kind of a person. So when I got there, I said, well, this is going to be my challenge. I'm going to make sure that this person is a superstar. And after a couple of years of working together and really coaching and guiding and giving opportunity to learn, and to do things their way. I just, let them do it their way, and they really became a superstar. So it is possible for people who aren't performing well under one leader in one organization to do well. So I believe in the good in everybody, Steve. It's just I'm that kind of an
Yeah.
optimistic person.
Well, and so I love what you're saying there, Terry, because I think that if I had if I have team members who are not performing well, I mean, first off, I'm going to acknowledge that there's some bad apples out there, and you should get rid of those people, right? But team members largely meet the expectations of their leaders, right? And so, exactly as you described, um, if team members are behaving in suboptimal way, the first place I think that leaders have to look is at themselves and see if they're creating an environment that's causing that to happen. And because it's very likely that that it's their problem. As you probably know, when I first came back into the industry, I was in it much younger. I came back and I was selling emergency call systems, and I called on this tiny little operator, and I was describing how great our system was and how we used these technology devices that the caregivers could care, so they knew a call came in, so they didn't have to go back and look at a board. And he immediately looked at me and he said, "Oh, I'd never do that, because if I had those devices, my employees would either immediately destroy them or steal them." And I was sort of shocked by this, right? And what I didn't say it to him, what I wanted to say to him is, yeah, they're doing that because you're a jerk as an employer, and if you treated them well, right? So he created bad employees.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I yeah
Go ahead.
I just want Yeah, just share real quickly that I have seen so many times people put tremendous amount of responsibility into a team of people, including managing the healthcare and the lives of residents in acute skilled nursing units, for example. Yet there would be policies around those team members that are so restrictive and so ridiculous, very similar to the story you just shared. So we trust them, number one, to help keep people alive and to do the right thing. But number two, we don't trust them with a $25 pager. So it really is a weird situation that is built over time through policies that are held on to that probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. So I want to you talked about you sort of just in something that I think is really, really critical that we perhaps don't talk about, and that's doing the right thing. I think that the challenge sometimes we have is how do we? I mean, in theory it seems like it should be simple to know what the right thing is, but in practice, often that's not the case, right? Because you know we have people who have messy lives. We have residents who have messy lives who physically are often declining, who mentally are often declining. We've got team members who have these incredibly difficult lives oftentimes. How do you have thoughts about how we process through all that?
Yeah, I think that doing the right thing for me has always been maybe a little more simple than you describe. I think obviously there are, you can't assume that everyone's lives is just like yours, whether yours is good or bad. I think, in your opinion, you have to really understand that, as you say, there are people living in very difficult situations, and sometimes coming to work is their reprieve, their relief, their respite from a bad life. Yet it's very difficult not to bring some of those life issues into the workplace. So for me, it's been trying to create again the culture that helps surround people like that and to help bring them up. I think having EAP programs, having training for managers so that they can help recognize when someone might need some extra help, some lifting up, is just vital today. And again, we have many cities around the country, and maybe certainly not all cities, but there are so many cultures within some of our communities, particularly on the team member side, that it doing the right thing might mean something very different to the team member than it does to you. So, I think where you have that situation, trying to understand the cultures and understand how people think about different problems and situations in life is important. So it takes when you have a multicultural team member, a staff, it takes a lot of time to really do that right.
Yeah, I think that as you described, what I hear is sort of having empathy for where your team members are. I have a friend of mine who was a number of months ago was an executive director at a community, and his top leadership came into this with this great employee benefit that they were doing, and there was training time, and they were expected to go out and push this thing, and it turns out that it was a thing that it exists exactly what you're talking. The management loved had no value to the people that they were really shoving it on, right? And so really thinking through these things is really, really tough stuff. I'd like to actually talk a little bit with you about technology, and I'm going to preface it by saying that, as you know, we just announced that we are hosting in January the Foresight AI Lab, because we think of all the technology movement that's been happening out there, that AI has the most promise to really help us be more human and let AI do things that we just can't handle very well. And so this is going to be very much a teaching session. We actually want to say I'm using this little pitch time here. We are actually we have our first block of pre-sale tickets up. And if you go to the website, you're going to say, okay, I know it's in Las Vegas and I know the dates, but what about speakers and what about hotels? got 4 speakers. We'll start announcing those next week. I'm not going to tell you who they are today, but I will tell you these tickets are fully refundable for 30 days because no questions asked. You just say, I changed my mind. You let us know. We push the button. Money goes back on your credit card. So these are great tickets. These are the cheapest tickets you get. And today, if you're watching and you use the code INSIDER, you'll get another 10% off. So there's my pitch. So Terry, what do you see for technology going forward in the industry? What role AI? What thoughts on AI? And don't tell me you hate AI because I'd be really in trouble now. And I've lost Terry again. So I don't have a contingency for this exactly. I actually, I'm going to actually expand a little bit until he comes back on this leadership thing. I think we've got so much opportunity right now to transform our industry with how we lead and what we do with team members. I've been thinking so much. You're back. Maybe.
I'm sorry.
Okay, not a problem.
You're back
okay,
too.
Great. Great. So I'd love to have your thoughts on technology and
You got
AI
me?
and what
I'm
role you
here.
think that plays.
Yeah, I just like you just shared, I think it's one of the most exciting times in our field. AI certainly, I am hopeful, gives us so much more efficiencies around those things that are busy work, and we know there are so many opportunities to go ahead and do that even today. And AI is today, it's not tomorrow. It started helping organizations even now. So I'm excited about office opportunities that AI is bringing. It's also bringing better information. So we're taking this big data and helping to parse that to actionable information for managers so that we can be more efficient and more effective in our leadership of the finances. I think that's very important. And then I'm anxious to see how artificial intelligence and machine learning becomes resident facing. What are the things that are going to change from a resident experience because of AI? So I hope to come to Vegas and spend time learning about all those things, Steve. So the pressure's on, I think.
Yeah, I've had conversations with probably 15 or 20 leaders who are on their AI journey. There are 2 leaders, one in a good sized organization, sort of 50, 60 buildings that is further along than anybody else. And then the other person, and they're going to do a general session for us, is somebody who owns, this is unbelievable. It's mind blowing. Her name is Mo Carr. We're actually going to have her on Foresight TV in a couple of weeks, but she's got 3 6-bed senior living communities in, I think, North Carolina, I think. She is doing things with AI that I haven't talked to a single large community or large organization that is doing. She unbelievable stuff. You guys will be mind blown. She will, and this is going to be a teaching session. So you're going to actually learn how to go do this stuff. You'll walk away from this. My biggest problem with conferences, Terry, is that you go to these conferences and you have cocktail parties and you talk to vendors and you might get 1 or 2 little nuggets of things and you walk away, but it never really changes your organization. We want this to change your organization. I don't know if you had that experience as well.
Yeah, same. I am excited. I've been thinking a lot about where we are as a field, and I've been my thinking has led me to 3 influencers that are really going to, I think, change the rest of our careers. And whether you're just now starting or whether you're old and haggard like me, you're going to really feel these changes. I think number one is AI and the changes that's going to bring around efficiencies. And then what do we do? It's one thing to gain efficiencies, but what do we do with those efficiencies that we've gained, and how do we redeploy the resources that we have saved into, I hope, making a better experience for residents? That's always my game. So, and then the other one is just the consumer expectations thing. thank goodness we have a tool to make us more efficient, because we've got to change our game. We've got to up our game for the boomer consumer, as we all have always known that they've changed everything they've ever touched in their lives. So not only do we have this changing consumer expectations, but we have a tool. We're going to be able to be more efficient and help take those resources and redeploy them. And then, kind of related to both, we now have this healthy aging 2.0, where we can truly improve longevity, and we can add years, quality years to people's life. So this whole emergence of scientific wellness based on the genetic mapping that we're able to do. So now we can do genetic tests and have so much more information as to what the medication protocol should be for you that can really be effective, and even, maybe even more exciting, what medications you don't need to be taking, because they won't have any impact on you based on your genetics and lifestyle. And a lot of things are related to that beyond just the genetics. But I am so excited that we have those three things at this point, and I think the field really needs it to really move in a direction where we continue to have an economic success.
So it sounds like what I think I'm hearing you say is that you think the boomers are going to push us, perhaps force us to be better than we are today.
Well, I think it's even going to be beyond that, because I know, based on all the studies I've read, and I think we like to ignore it, but baby boomers don't like us. They don't like what we do. Senior living is only providing services to the pinpoint of the needle, as far as the numbers of age and income qualified seniors who could live in our communities. So there again, with with the demographics coming and the growth of the age groups that we have typically provided support and care to, there's actually no way we could build enough buildings fast enough to take care of that wave. However, I think that from a standpoint of having to change our services that we provide, offering more options and really embracing healthy aging much more than we've ever had before, then we have to do that, or we're going to have some problems.
Yeah, I am I'm actually really excited, but I think you're right. I think the challenge is that people have a very poor opinion of us. Some of it's self-inflicted, I think. A lot of it is inflicted by the media. Um, and so, but I think that we can either I think largely the industry has sort of wrung their hands and said, "Poor us, they're picking at us." And I think that we have this huge opportunity where we could actually be telling better stories, and that it's kind of our own fault that we need to be telling more stories. We've only got a couple minutes left, but one of the areas I really want to touch on with you is there is one of the major shifts that I see in senior living right now is that we've mostly, even when we've done healthcare like things, particularly in assisted living, obviously skilled nursing is healthcare, we've mostly seen ourselves and presented ourselves as a lifestyle model, which is curious because, with the exception of perhaps CCRCs, and now maybe a little bit independent living, active at the active 55 plus, it's people really have made these decisions primarily based on declining physical and cognitive abilities. But we seem to be better today at saying, maybe there's a role for us to play in the healthcare world, that we can save hospital systems and payer systems millions of dollars, perhaps billions of dollars, by keeping people healthy. Do you have any thoughts on where we go from here in terms of being part of the healthcare system?
Yeah, well, several years ago, I worked with Ohio Living, Larry Gamina, and Lynn Katzman at Juniper around the perennial plan. So, creating a senior living provider owned Medicare Advantage plan, started as a special needs plan, and now I'm not part of that any longer, but they're doing a traditional Medicare Advantage plan, and I think they're proving, and others are doing the same thing, that if you have people that live with you, we have Medicare beneficiaries that live with us on our campuses. Many of us are providing, I have seen clinics on in independent living buildings at CCRCs. So we have visiting doctors maybe coming in. And there has never been a time where I believe we've been closer to the opportunity to really impact the cost curve for the payers. We know those Medicare beneficiaries or the HMO beneficiaries better than anyone else, from a lifestyle, a medical, if you have physicians visiting. We understand their activities. We're there all the time. We have this knowing. And if you know about someone, their life, their health, then you can really impact, the acute care stays, the hospital stays. You can intervene. So proactive care is how you save money. So there's no one better positioned, I think, to be
Yeah.
at the table to save money for them. So I'm excited. We're seeing some success there. I think senior living does have a play there. There are companies like Corona Health who are doing just amazing things in keeping people out of the emergency department, keeping them out of the hospital, and even offering skilled nursing in their own home, in their independent living apartment, in their assisted living apartment. So these are the things that I see actually happening. It was a dream a few years ago, but now they're actually happening and obtaining very good results. So it saves money, but also keeps the resident happier, and gives them better health and wellness outcomes too.
Yeah, I just love that so much, because what you're really, what you're describing, and I'm now that I'm getting a little older, I'm starting to think about what would senior living look like for me, and I want to be in a place where I can hang out with friends, I can still have an impact, and I don't want to spend all my time going to healthcare appointments and doctor's appointments. Something that once I pass that 65, 66 year mark, I learned that I'm pretty healthy, but I've got more of this stuff I've got to do. And so if senior living can make it so that that becomes a minor part of my life, necessary, but minor part of my life, so I can go do the stuff that's important to me, that's world changing, it becomes such a great opportunity. Terry, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate that. Hang on for just a second after we go off the air. And thank you for watching. We have another great guest next week, so I hope you join us.